Hello, Keith Rucker at VintageMachinery.org. Well, guys, I'm back in the shop. I've actually have been on a little hiatus out here for the last, really, it's been 2 weeks since I've been in the shop. Between traveling for work, we've had some family stuff going on, and it has really dug into my shop time the last couple of weeks. But I am happy to be back out here, and we've got a little project that I need to start working on and getting knocked out. So basically what I've been sent is, this is from a viewer of mine that asked if I could help out. He has an old Reed-Prentice Lathe. Seems like I'm working on a lot of those lately for people. 16 AA from 1942. He purchased it a while back. They said that when he got it, they were saying, oh, it works great. But when they got it in, I think that he bought it over a website or something, but when it came in, it obviously had some issues. And for one thing, back during Hurricane Sandy, it was actually underwater. But, you know, it's cast iron, it'll dry out. But when they got it, they took it apart, started cleaning it up, and really have got down to one little part, and there was one little jack shaft with some gears that were broken in there. And I'm going to zoom you in and show you these parts, and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. So these are the parts in question right here. And what this is this gear actually fits up on there. I pressed it off, but it goes up on this piece here. And this is just a little jack shaft, a gear reducer. It goes from, what is that, 12 teeth on this one to, what was on the other one? Yeah, this one has 40 teeth on it, so 12 to 40. And it's a reducer, and this is in the, I think in the quick change gearbox on the machine, and basically allows them to be able to change the feed rates on the machine. And as you can see, we got some serious issues. All the teeth are stripped off of this one, and the teeth on the bigger gear, while they're there, some of them have significant wear in them. Some of them aren't actually that bad. I don't know why it has that uneven wear in it, which is kind of interesting. These two little journals on the end fit up in a little bronze bushing for a bearing. And then again, it presses on here and it's keyed in place. So we're gonna actually make both of these parts and get them back in business. This is has a diametral pitch of 14. And I think we've got all of our cutters and everything to cut these on the horizontal mill. But to start with, we need to make the blanks for these. So, and this is two separate parts. And what I'm going to do is this shaft here, we're going to make it out of some rod here. This is 4140 that I ended up deciding to go with it. Some people call it chrome moly. It's a good all-purpose steel for making shafts and stuff that are going to be have wear on them. I've used this material before when making some gears. Now the bigger gear, I'm not sure what material this was originally, but I'm pretty sure it's cast iron. And because of that, I've got a chunk of cast iron here that we're going to make that out of. And that's very typical. When you're making gears, you typically want the gear material to be different on the two gears, with one of them being harder and one of them being softer. You will actually get less wear when you have different hardnesses on the two gears than if they are made out of the same material. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. And I think we'll start by working on the shaft. So I'm going to go over to the lathe and get this set up. And we're going to, again, just turn a blank out. That's probably going to be what the video is here today, is making the blanks. And we'll do the gear cutting in a separate video. So we'll start by facing this and putting a center hole in it. We'll come in here and touch off, and then just go down that side. We'll come in with a center drill and put a nice center in that end. So here's our part. We're going to work on this end first. And first thing I want to do is cut down to this diameter. That's about 60 thousandths over an inch. Right now we're about an eighth of an inch over with an inch and eighth nominal stock. So I've got about 50 thousandths I need to cut off of there. So we'll just go ahead and touch off here. And 10, 20, 30, we'll just go 40 thousandths. And then get a good measurement. This is not a critical measurement. We're at about 90 thousandths over. We're going to 60. Got about 30 thousandths more to take. We're right on the money. So here's our piece behind it that we're going to be cutting, and what I want to do next is I want to hollow out this section in here. This is actually going to be 1 inch in diameter where the gear is. So I've got a parting tool, and I'm going to come in here, I'm going to create this shoulder, and I'm going to come over and create a shoulder on this side, and then we'll just cut all that material out in between there down to this nominal diameter. So I've got a parting tool in here, and we're going to take that down to, what was I measuring on that? It's about 665 thousandths. And I don't think that measurement there is really a critical measurement either. We'll come in here and just part down to it. Come out and get a measurement on that. Hopefully my calipers will, yeah, I think they will, yeah. So I'm at about, I need to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, about 60 thousandths more in depth. I'm just reading this off the dial. That should be pretty close right there. And that's close enough for right now. We can fine tune that once we get down in there. See if I can scribe a little line on here. That's my next shoulder. Basically see what we're creating here. So my next shoulder will be right there on that line I scribed. And that should be pretty close to it there. Go ahead and get a tool where I can hopefully get in there and cut all that out. We're just going to come in here now and try to whittle that middle section out without getting into the sides. That's cut it out. All right, that's going to be good enough for now. Right now, we're just kind of roughing this out, so that's good. So you can see where we're kind of at here. We got the middle cut out. This is a little bit oversized. I'm going to trim that up later, but I'm going to go ahead and rough in this little bearing journal down here. I'm going to leave it a little bit oversized. I'm going to finish this between centers, so I'm going to take all these critical measurements. We'll take the final cuts between centers. I've already put a little mark on here where my depth is, and I'm just going to come in here now and right there is where that shoulder needs to be. And we'll start whittling this down. About 75 thousandths to go where I need to be. I'll probably just take 50. And we're going to call it close enough for now. All right. I'm going to flip this part around and we'll start getting the other side roughed out. All right, we've got our part mounted back in here, going the other way now, and first thing I want to do is get this end faced, and we need to get this cut the length, and let's see, this measurement is going to be 1 inch 575 from the outside there, and we're at 1 inch 610, so we got what 10, 20, 30, about 40 thousandths to come off of there. So I'm just going to come in here and put an indicator on my lathe where I can see how far I'm going. All right, we'll start by just facing a little bit off of here to get a good measurement to start with. All right, that has become my zero. I'll change my zero over here on my indicator. You get a good measurement now. So we got what, 25, 26, 27, 28 thousandths to go. So I should be able to just dial that in on my indicator. We'll go about 10 thousandths on this pass. I'm going to come in here and get another good measurement now. And that's right on the money. We need 8 thousandths. So I can dial that right in. Right there. All right, that should be right on the money. It is. So next thing I'm going to do is just come in here and kind of blend this into this diameter here. We will wrap. Thousands. All right, we need to basically just cut right down to that little shoulder that's already in there, and we're going to take this on down. Break this edge here very lightly. Got a little burr on it I don't like. Out. All right, so now we're going to work on roughing out the gear here. And again, I got a piece of cast iron for this. This is just some extruded cast iron, a little bit oversized. This gear is 3 inches in diameter, so we're going to go ahead and turn that. We'll also face off the front here to start with. And let's get her going. So let's start by facing. Make sure that cleaned up all the way around, and it looks like it did. So let's see, our nominal size here is about an 1/8 inch over. So let's come in here. Plenty. About 75 over. So now I'm going to put a hole in this, to be a 3/4 inch hole. So I'm going to start out by putting a center hole in it. There we go. These centers will find the center. You saw it bouncing around a little bit there, but it is putting it right dead in the center of that right now. And I'm just wanting a good hole to get started on. We will now come in here and put a drill in. I've got a 47/64 drill in here. That's just one size under 3/4. I'm just going to put me a mark on here about where, about how deep I want to go. And away we go. That should be deep enough. So now to get our hole to the final size, I'm going to come in here with just a 3/4 inch reamer, and we'll feed her in there. Put a little WD-40 on there for lubrication. We'll just go till it bottoms out. Right there. That hole should be pretty darn close to 3/4 now, and what we'll do is we will mic that hole, and when we turn the shaft on the other side, we'll make sure that we get a nice press fit on it. Holes punched through there now. We got our outside diameter done. So the next thing we got is there's a couple little steps here on the front of this gear. This goes in about 200 thousandths. There's 2 steps in here. We're going to go ahead and machine that on this side. There's also a step on the other, but it's a single step on the other side. We'll have to do that when we flip it around. I'm going to go ahead and do this more complicated double-sided step first. And we're just going to come in here. Tell you what, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. There we go. I'm going to come in here and touch off. I'm going to use a dial indicator to do my 200 thousandths depth on. And I just kind of scribed a line in there. You might be able to see it right in here. Kind of gives me an idea of how deep I need to go. That's actually going to be a little bit large, and that's what I want. I want to turn that down to size after I put this in. So we're going to leave things a little bit on the large side. So anyway, that's about a 25 thousandths cut. We'll just go ahead and start spacing this off. All right. I'm going to take another measurement here. We should be on our last pass, and just make sure we're getting a good. All right, so I need 19 thousandths. I'm going to re-zero my indicator, and we'll dial in 19 thousandths. And that measurement's not super critical, but we want to get as close as we can. See what we got. All right, we're about a thousandths or two over, but again, it's not no critical measurement, so we're good there. And this outside here, we're at 1 inch 562. That needs to be 1 inch 350. What it looks like on the original here. So next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and work that down. So we got about 200 thousandths to take off that diameter. See where we're at. All right, so we're at 465. Then we'll take another 50 off, and then we'll figure out what we need to make on that last pass. We've got, to hit 350, we've got 12, 13 thousandths to go. Right on the money. Right where I want to be. All right, so there's another step on here, and it goes about 80 thousandths deep, and that diameter is about 170, or 1 inch, 75 thousandths over an inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and come in here, and we'll do the same process we did before and get that down to where it needs to be. We're good. All right, I'm going to just deburr, just touch off something on there to break all those corners. I'm just going to come in here now and just break all these sharp corners. We don't want to take much off of them, but well, if I can get in close enough on this one. As I can get. That should be fine. So last thing we need to do here on this side is I need to go ahead and part this off, and the total thickness of the gear is a little bit under an inch, about it's about 940 thousandths wide. So I'm going to actually part this off a little over an inch so that I got some room to flip it around. We can clean that back side up, put the steps and stuff we need on it on the other side. So anyway, we got this going here. I normally don't use a lot of oil on cast iron, but I think I'm going to make an exception in this case. Making a lot of noise, but it's actually cutting pretty darn good. So we're just going to go with it here. We should have plenty of material on the other side to clean up anything. There it comes. So I've got this flipped around now backwards, and yeah, actually that parting gave us a pretty dang smooth finish. I'm as much growling as it was making. I'm surprised at how nice that finish turned out. The other side looked just as good. But anyway, we need to take this down to the final thickness. So I measured it. We're about 25 thousandths over an inch. We need to be at about 930 thousandths. So I've got about 100 thousandths to take off. So we're going to go here and just face this down, and I'll take a couple passes, get a cleanup measurement, and then use my indicator to dial it into the right thickness. Got a little line scribed in there just kind of as a depth. Again, that's not the exact measurement. That's a little bit oversized. I can turn that to diameter once we get down there. So we'll leave it a little bit on the high side. I won't bore you guys with all this. We'll bring you back in a little bit. So our blanks are coming along real nice. We got this done. There's the double step side, and there's the single step side. All the dimensions are what they need to be. So this gear is pretty much ready for cutting teeth. Now, I do need to go back and turn all these dimensions to final, and I want to do that between centers. So just a little bit about, we machined half of it on one side in the 3-jaw chuck, and we flipped it around and did the other side. I got centers on both sides, but because I flipped this thing in the chuck, and I want this shaft to be running, pretty much perfectly true. I feel a lot better in those situations to machine my final stuff between centers. So basically it'll be supported between centers like this. We'll turn it, and that way, even if I flip this thing around between centers, it's still gonna be perfectly in line. That's a little trick you can use when you're working on shaft work, or where you need for work on one side. If you got to turn it around for it to be perfectly in line with the other side, it's going to be more accurate than ever doing it in a chuck. So that's the method we're going to use here. So let me get this set up for turning between centers, and we're going to get all of our final dimensions on this cut, and we should have these ready to start cutting some teeth. All right, so we've got this over here now set up between centers on the lathe. So we got a center on this side, we got a center on this side, and we got the drive dog in the middle. The drive dog goes up against the face of one of the jaws on the chuck in this case. You could use a dog driver, which is just a little faceplate looking thing. This is gonna work fine. And it spins this, and it keeps it between centers. Now I can turn this around, and it's gonna still be perfectly along that same center line, which will make it easy for me to work on either side of this. So I've got 2 dimensions on this side that need to be cleaned up. First off is this smaller diameter, and I think that is what, 0.591. I'll double check that measurement. This is a bearing surface that this runs into, probably just up in a little bronze bushing or something on the lathe. Then next to that is this surface here. This will become the actual gear. And it needs to be 1 inch in diameter, and we'll cut gear teeth on that. And on the other side, we have another bearing surface, and then the surface that larger gear will press up on. So we're going to get these turned down to their correct measurements. We'll flip it around, do the other side, and then this part should be done. Off. Get a good measurement now. So I've still got about 10, almost 30 thousandths to go. I'm going to take another 20, and we'll measure with the caliper or the micrometer then, and go from that. right, so I'm right at 600. So I've got about 9 thousandths to go. See where we're at now. We should be pretty darn close. All right, so I'm about just a little over my mark, and actually I think that's where I want to be, is because I'm sure this is worn just a little bit. So we're probably about 4/10 over right there, and I'm going to leave good enough alone. Next thing I need to do is come up here. We're going to turn this down. That needs to again go to 1 inch, and this one's not as critical on the measurement, but we're about 60 thousandths over right now. It's going to take 10 because I'm sure I got a little bit of spring in there, and then we'll get another measurement and clean it up that last little bit. And I'm glad I did that because we hit it right on. So that's a good lesson there. You know, a lot of times when you take a big pass like that, you'll have a little bit of spring in there. So, you know, we were only, you know, we had about 5,000 spring in there in this case. So because I needed 15, I took 10, taking some of that into account, and then I went in there and cleaned it up. Or if I had to clean it up, I could. So anyway, that worked out perfect there. All right, I've got a little grooving tool in here, and on the original, there's just a little relief down here on the bottom side of that, and we're just gonna replicate that. So I'm gonna come in here and we'll just plow in a little bit to get us some clearance back in there. That should be plenty. And then last thing here, we're just gonna chamfer these ends, put a little lead-in angle on there, break those edges. This is gonna be the gear. I'm gonna do this one a little bit heavier. And on the other side over here, do the same thing. All right, that side is done. Now we're gonna flip this around. This side also needs to go to 591, just like the other side. And then this is the area that the gear will press up on. I reamed that over there. I measured that. It's right dead on the money at 0.750. So we're gonna make this probably about a 0.5 thousandths larger so that we can have a press fit into that. Really, even just a couple of tenths will probably be enough. So anyway, I've measured this. We got about 50 thousandths to get that down to size. So let me come in here and take an initial pass, 10, 20. We'll just take about 25 off of it and go from there. All right, I'm right on 1, so I need to take probably about a 0.5 thousandths off of that. We need to also take just a little bit off the other side. Before I do, let me go ahead and cut my grooves in there. This one's going to have 2 grooves. There'll be one here. I'm going to make it a little bit wider. And there'll be another groove over here. I'm actually going to face down that side a little bit. looks good. And we'll go ahead and put some chamfers on here. Just want to break those edges. There we go. And we'll grab some emery cloth. I don't want to take too much here. Let's just see where we're at. All right, we're right where I want to be, about a half a thou. I don't know if you can see that, but about a half a thousandths over on that one. And this one should be right on 16, and it's right on 16. That's good. All right, I think we're done on this. So here we go. We got our blanks all made up. I still need to cut a keyway in this piece and then broach a keyway in here. We'll probably put a Woodruff key in that. But other than that, this is done, and then that's going to pretty much be what we get done today on it. Well, guys, that's going to be a wrap for this episode. We got our blanks made. Like I said, we'll need to cut those 2 keyways, and then in the next episode, we'll be setting up the dividing head on the horizontal mill and doing some gear cutting. So we'll be looking forward to that coming up soon. With that, we'll sign off. Thanks, guys, for watching. As always, leave me a thumbs up if you like what you see. Leave me some comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.